Just about everyone has heard about OpenAI up to this point. And don't worry, I'm not going to get halfway through this paragraph, pop up and say, oh hey, even the first part of this video was made with ChatGPT. Well, sort of. I set a simple challenge for the AI. Okay, not simple, but I wanted to build a video game using Unity. And just a disclaimer, I left the recording as a voiceover for such as right now, but this was a truly long project because I wanted to see if I could get this AI to come up with its own solutions to the issues it creates. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So first things first, let's go ahead and see if we can prompt ChatGPT to give us some overall advice on the game with the simple question, can you help me build a tower defense game in Unity? Funny enough, this was actually the first error I made using the Chat AI. From working with it for a solid couple of weeks, it's best to apply bullet point parameters to help it in a way create an image for what we want. But let's continue. Our first reply in the thread has given us some good but very basic and general information. But for a starting point, especially if you're having writer's block, it's pretty perfect. So the primary takeaway here is terrain, background and player character, enemy characters, their spawns and movements, towers, attack patterns and ranges, a UI, win-loss conditions, and sound effects. Then it proceeds to warn me that it's a little more than I can handle. Challenges on you AI, don't spin this one on me, mate. I start off by creating a new project in Unity. We're going to go for a 3D tower defense game and calling it GPT-TD. Pretty clear which project this is going to be going ahead. If you're trying to follow along here, there's plenty of great videos using Unity. I really recommend checking out Jason and Weimann, or if you're doing something 2D, I also recommend Code Monkey. Both are a wealth of knowledge, but let's be real. If you're here, you probably already know them. After waiting for my slow boy to finish booting the fresh project, we're going to go ahead and start creating my 2-meter reference. And don't worry, this is something I do out of habit. I can't work without having a visual representation of scale. The Chat AI's next recommendation was to create a terrain. So I'm going to go ahead here and import terrain tools from the package manager down here. Next, I go ahead, right click on the left and create new terrain. I then center it by offsetting the X and Z positions by -500. Again, this is something I do. It's easier for me to know that -50 is the mirror of 50 in either direction. Next up, I go ahead and import some textures for my terrain so I can give this chessboard some life. Makes it more pleasant to look at. So I create a new layer, apply a green grass texture, change the tiling size to 15 by 15, and we've got a nice looking workspace here. And since this is a tower defense game, we're going to need some towers, but they're just going to be placeholders for now, so they're going to be really basic. Speaking of, here's our basic arrow tower that we'll be using, and then we'll also create a capsule here to represent our enemy. Enemies. I don't think we've got a theme for them in this game yet. Hey mate, so what themes should we be having for our enemies in this game? It seems when it comes to choices, it doesn't like giving us straight answers. But it's throwing a lot of common genres at us here. Zombies? Nah, that's overdone. Fantasy? Nah. We've got Orcs Must Die for that. Space or alien invasion? Again, we've got Whiffbreaker. Yeah, probably not Whiffbreaker. That would be a very interesting game. We've got Riftbreaker for that. Robots or cyborgs? Again, sort of the same as the above. Mythological? That could be interesting. Elementals? Pretty much every tower defense game features this. Well, Chat AI, choose a number between 1 and 6. Ha, gotcha. Arr, be it space pirates, here to plunder ye. I could have chosen gold for player's life, or keys, or rum, but no, what did I choose? Cows. There's something definitely wrong with me. But I digress. It's time to write down a Miller note. Alien invasion, human defenders, using bows, etc. Let's go ahead and rotate this capsule on its side and name the prefab enemy spaceship. Okay, I really did try to put it off for as long as I could, but here comes some coding. Attack patterns, movement, spawns, win-loss conditions. I'm just going to go ahead and take note of these in the Old Faithful. Importantly, I go ahead and create the cube cows, aka the moo-moos. So this is what the player is going to need to protect. Essentially, this is going to be my loss condition. If too many spaceships abduct my cows, it's game over. It's game over, man. It's game over. Let's go ahead and create a terrain layer here that will define an outline of the enemy movement path. And of course, it's just a draft, but I'm being a perfectionist. Now you'll see I've made a second path here, and I plan to use this later when we create alternative spawns and routes. Okay, we've got our barebone tower defense game. We've got our terrain, our path, our towers and our enemies, and our cows. Now we just need to add some life to it. That's where coding comes in. Hey chat, so you reckon you could go ahead and create a movement script for the enemies in this game? Preferably using navmesh agents? Now I specifically said navmesh agents here because I wanted to see if it would actually take my recommendations on board, and it sure as heck didn't. This may be due to brackets, however it could simply be that chat believes it's an easy task to do with some simple code and not need navmesh agents anyways. Alright, we've got our first script here for our enemy movement. Straight away we can see some square brackets giving us an array. For anyone sane enough to not know what that means, it's essentially a collection of things. In this case, it's going to be a collection of transforms, in-game positions, what we're going to be naming waypoints. It's giving us a movement speed, an update for the move function, creating a variable called waypoint index and assigning it as 0, creating our logic for our move function. It says that the waypoint index is less than or equal to waypoints.length minus 1. We can then move to the next waypoint. If the position is equal to the waypoint's index position, add 1 to the waypoint's index. Then it has an else statement that gives us a comment stating that we can do something when it reaches the quote-unquote end of the waypoint's path. And then chat proceeds to tell me more about the script anyways below it. So going ahead, I really don't know if you'd like me to just shut up and not explain the code, or whether you'd prefer me to gloss over it like I did just then. Let me know in the comments whether you prefer that in the future videos, but let's just go ahead and copy this and jump back into Unity. Create a new script, name it enemy movement, and let's get this copied over here. Again, if you're following along, I use Writer for my programming. There's plenty of free alternatives such as Visual Studio and Visual Code. For those at home scared of code, don't worry, it's source, baby. Really simply, it's not to be taken as gospel. Dark blue is what it is, the purple is like the name of something, the light blue is the name of variables, and the tealish green is our methods, and the dark green with the forward slashes in front of it are just comments telling us something more about the code. And if you ask me, it's pretty damn scary that this thing can produce not just code from prompts, but explain it by commenting on it. That's a big yikes. But I'm a damn well get this game done before Skynet takes over.
End of the line.
Now, before I continue the video, if you're looking for a pop-up quiz, there was an error in the code. See if you can work it out, or keep watching and see if you can work it out as we continue ahead. Now, I'll grab the script and put it on our enemy, since that's what the game object's going to be that we're moving here. Next up, I need to create those waypoints the script was looking for, create a couple of empty game objects, and call them waypoint and waypoint 1. And I move them to key locations on the path that we created earlier. I end up having to rename the two after getting them into the positions I wanted, and it didn't make much sense having our units go to waypoint 1 and then to waypoint if the next waypoint was going to be waypoint 2. Okay, we've got our 4 waypoints here, waypoint 0, 1, 2, and 3. They're laid out to go from top left to top right, down the main path, at the bottom to go left, and then stopping at the cows. Now we need to add these waypoints to its array. And let's go ahead and hit play. And it's not really heading towards the waypoint, and it's kind of getting stuck there. Well, it moved on the x-axis, and it moved into the ground, which means it moved on the y-axis, but nothing happened for the z-axis. Even near the path, it moved straight into the middle of the world again. Let's take a look at the script. There's our issue. We're in a 3D game, but we've told it to move in a 2-dimension here. Let's go ahead and fix this one up and hit play. Well, pull me by my beard and stab me in the eye. Our pirate ship flies. It has sunk halfway through the ground, but that's okay. It has made it to the cows. Wait, that's not what we want. We'll be needing to get some tower logic happening. Now, before we move on, I'm going to prompt chat and do some troubleshooting to work this code issue out by telling it, this game object's getting stuck in the ground and won't move around the map. It replies, well, very off from the actual issue. Again, I try to prompt it by stating that none of these solutions worked, but it finally asked me to share a little bit more information about the game, and this is when I take the chance to tell it that it's actually a 3D game, and this is what I should have mentioned at the very start when I said, can you help me create a game? Whoa, hold on. Did it just apologize? Oh yeah, that's definitely not a red flag or anything. It goes on to correct the exact issue I just fixed, simply changing it from a vector 2 to a vector 3. The project's going well, and we're making some really good progress. But what if we've got some writer's block? Oh, chatbot! Oh yeah, so what do you reckon we should do next? Chat is moving into tower scripts now, suggesting we create our 3D models, which we're still using for our placeholders. Implement targeting to shoot the nearest enemy. Create a user interface for the tower placement, making enemies have health, take damage. Create particle effects for the towers. Then back to checking about the win-loss conditions, sound effects, and testing and refinement. Well, since I've already been working on the enemies, I may as well start this section off by doing their health. New script time, calling it enemy unit, and again asking chat. Yeah, nah mate, so do you want to show me an example of enemies and their health and whatever else they might need for this tower defense game? It's given us max health set to 100, a new variable, current health, the enemy's value when killed, and it's added to the previous script, which isn't ideal, but it's fine while we test this all out. On the start function now, we're setting the current health to the max health when the script first comes to life, and we're getting our waypoints. Well, since chat's using the same script, I may as well delete the one we just made and change the script's name to enemy unit, and make sure I change the class name to suit. The script has also added a take damage method looking for the damage variable, and states that current health takes damage equal to its value, but if the current health is less than or equal to 0, we're going to run the die method. And the die method seems to automatically assume we have a player script added to it to add the money. And finally, has a destroy command so that when its health runs out, it's going to be removed. Again, it has written its own explanation towards what's going on in the code, and it seems pretty damn impressive. Time for the old copy-paste trick. Now, of course, I can't compile the script here because I don't have a player script or a waypoint system script. I don't need the player script just yet, but the waypoint system script looks pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and see what that does. So, yeah, I don't have a waypoint system script. Can you show it to me? And of course, it's ready to jump. But it's just our transform array from before? Okay, what's chat saying about it? Interesting. It's so that each unit can grab the waypoint on spawn and not actually have it written on them. It doesn't state why this is important here, but essentially if a unit spawns near one of the waypoint systems, they will follow that path. But if an enemy spawns near a different waypoint system, they can pick that path up instead. But again, this is for later. I spent a good minute here working out how chat wants to use this system and how it actually works. And that's not a bad thing. This is exactly what I set this challenge for. I didn't want all the answers. I wanted to go in blind. And it gave me a better chance of gauging how chat works. So I ended up creating a waypoint system script, creating new empty game objects, and attaching the waypoint systems to it. Fittingly, I call this game object waypoints. I assigned the waypoints to the handler and hit play. Okay, we're just at where we were. Now I need to figure out how we're going to start taking some damage. So I play around a little bit with the script to try and get an idea of what I should be looking for next. Time to go to my checklist and check off that movement pattern. I want to start getting the damage to work. So again, I go ahead and spend a little bit of time here and ask the chat to create a script to handle the towers in our game. And while it's pulling that together, I go ahead and make the script called towers. We're given damage, fire rate, range, fire countdown. It wants us to link the bullet prefab and a transform fire point. Gives us some logic on how the shooting is going to be timed, also how the target is going to be identified and fired at. In this case, it's going to be looking for enemies with the tags as enemy. And of course, it doesn't finish the entire script. Now, I've found that asking it to simply continue from whatever method was last written is the best way to get chat flowing again. Now, we go ahead and copy paste this into our tower script, and I can confirm that this is the entire script by pasting it back into the chat. Can't compile, due to not having a bullet script. Alright chat, we're going to need one of them mate, show me what it looks like. Here our bullet script gives us a speed, the damage it will do, which will make the towers script damage redundant, an impact visual effect, showing us the logic if there's no target to destroy the bullet, then followed by logic on how it's going to travel to its target, then checking if it's able to hit. If it does, it runs the hit target method, which then we can see it getting reference to our enemy script and take damage method from it. Then once the bullet has dealt it damage, the bullet removes itself. Okay, this is pretty impressive. It's getting reference to our previous script and gaining access to its methods. Time to copy paste this yet again into our bullet script. It's important to note here that chat thinks that enemy unit script is just called enemy. I actually never corrected it because I knew what it meant. Time to jump back into Unity again and make that fire point. This is where the bullets will be spawning from, and I go ahead and create a sphere to represent our bullet. I attach that bullet script to the sphere. Now I'll create that new tag for the enemy, and now hit play and see what happens. I turn up the enemy's speed here, just to make them move faster for the testing. Right, got ahead of myself. It might help if I assign the enemy the tag and assign the sphere to the tower, as well as the fire point. Another error has been thrown here because of the impact event. So I decided to comment it out because I don't actually plan to use it yet anyways. Alright, so we have a tower that fires a bullet. The bullet moves at 70 F towards the nearest target, dealing 50 damage. The enemy unit will follow the path of waypoints at a speed of 2 and has a total health of 100. So what we should be seeing here is 2 bullets hitting the enemy and the enemy being removed, and the tower no longer shooting until the new target appears. And there we go. The enemy shoots at its target and deals the damage. Let's go ahead, add some more towers and some more enemies, and let's see if we've got the skeleton of a game here. And that's pretty damn amazing. We've got our basic building blocks of a tower defense game in just an hour and a half. At first, I thought this was really slow. But if this was someone who genuinely struggles with making a game, ChatGPT really can help them out here. And any progress is still progress, regardless of whether or not if it's slow. So that's a wrap to this video, and I really hope you enjoyed the first part to this mini-series. I'm really invested into seeing how far we can take this game using OpenAI's chatbot to tool this out. Here comes everyone's favourite part, the plug. Being a new channel, I would really appreciate the support. So please like, comment, and consider subscribing. Again, let me know if I should explain the scripts or leave them to chat to explain. Thanks so much for watching, and I shall catch y'all scurvy dogs next time. Arr! Oh, that was disgusting.